and welcome to another episode of Lizzie Watches Yaoi, and today I am reviewing the 1994 OVA Our Road of No Return, which I have to say is not one of my favourites. I'm not really a big fan of the love triangle storyline, especially when it's like there's a girl and two boys and they're all kind of into each other but not into each other, and the two guys are clearly in love with each other, but one's dating the girl and then the girl sleeps with the other one to get back at the one that she really wants to be with. And I'm just like, guys, you're kind of being really unfair on the girl. Also, girl, don't try and get your boyfriend back by sleeping with his best friend that you yourself think has feelings for the other guy, and then just don't be a bitch about it at the end. I don't know, it's not my kind of drama. It's not people being kidnapped and people having accidents and all the other stuff that I like. The angst piled on because of past trauma, and it's not cute and sweet either. So some of the tender kind of cutie shonen eyes and stuff I prefer a lot better, but this one is it's a bit bland. It's not really my thing. But anyway, so it starts off in this there's a beautiful spring morning, and it's a beautiful spring morning because all the sakura blossoms are floating past, and it's beautiful music, and the character designs are really nice. I've got to admit that the boys are very cute. And these two boys are having a bit of a joke about moving in together, and one of them's like, oh, only if you cook, you can't move into me if you can't cook, because who's going to look after me? And then a girl turns up, Moeko, and she's all like, have you thought more about what I asked? Clearly she's asked one of the guys out. Well, clearly he's agreed, because it's okay, yes, I'll start dating you. And there's this quote at the beginning going, there is a thin line between saying I love you and saying I like you. And another quote going, there's a thin line between liking someone and loving them, or being someone's friend and being in love with them. There is a thin line. So the two friends become roommates, and one of them starts dating the girl, and it seems to be happy, and there's all yeah, things are going well. I mean, this guy seems to be having his cake and eat it. He's dating a cute girl. He goes home to a hot boy, and everything, well, seems to be okay until you find out that for some unknown reason, hot boy, who we find out his name is Ken, is also accepting money from older men on the streets, and has clearly started working as a rent boy, as a bit of a male prostitute. So less good on his part. And then time passes, and you find out that Ken moved out, and Ritsuru and Moeka have continued going out, but Ritsuru is beginning to start kind of ignoring his girlfriend. He's kind of distant, not really very focused. He's throwing himself into study, forgetting to turn up to dates, and just all round not really that interested in her. So one day when she's out shopping, she's all like, oh goodness, Ritsuru, why is he not around? And happens to bump into Ken. And she's like, oh, let's go for a coffee. So they're like, you know what, if we might as well hang out. We used to be friends in school, why not? So they hang out, then they have a couple of drinks, they go to a club, and then they end up kissing, and it turns out they sleep together as well. And it's oh no. So she cheats on Ritsuru with Ken, and it's a bit uh-oh. So Ritsuru, being angry boyfriend, goes and punches Ken, being how dare you steal my girlfriend again, and it's oh, you're such a bad person, rah, and then runs off again. Another one of those animes where they all run away from their problems, literally, they physically run away from their problems and mentally. If any of these people address some of this shit, then maybe we wouldn't have to watch 30 minutes of will they, won't they, and the girlfriend being annoying, and just leaps and jumps of because they never really acted that like Yaoi in the beginning. They weren't that close. There was no overt flirting and sexual undertones. Maybe that was meant to be the way. Maybe we were meant to be really sucked into this love triangle. But it's this is Yaoi, this is Shon and I. We're not meant to actually believe that either of them want the girl. We're meant to believe the two of them just want to be together, but haven't figured it out yet. But it turns out that this is the 4th time that Ken has stolen one of Ritsuro's like girlfriends, and he seems to like make it a habit that every time Ritsuro gets a new girlfriend, he seems to try and seduce her, just like to test if like, you know, she really wants to be with Ritsuro, and the girlfriends obviously fail because, you know, secretly Ken is in love with Ritsuro and kind of doesn't want him dating these girls and wants to prove that these girls are just all like floozies and will jump into bed with a hot dude who buys them drinks. And it's kind of got a point, because if the girls are doing that, then they're not right for Ritsuro, you know. If they can just suddenly be like, oh, I'm a bit annoyed with my boyfriend, fine, I'll sleep with you, hottie. That's not a very nice thing to do. But, like, Ken tells Ritsuro that, like, well, maybe if you had a little bit more emotion, maybe if you showed your emotions and showed your commitment to, like, your girlfriends, maybe they wouldn't, like, start, like, looking for companionship and sex somewhere else, because, you know, you're not very tactile and you don't really act like a boyfriend. They might need something more. Maybe, you know, you've got a problem there. And he's all like, huff, I'll run away again. Oh, dear. So we then get, like, a scene in the nightclub. And everyone's sexy dancing and looking sexy. It's quite amusing, the sexy dancing. And it's like, you either have to sit there and kind of just like laugh at it and go, really? Or just go with it. It's like, yeah, totally. Like, this is the most sexiest people ever. And Ken is dancing sexily and dude is coming onto him. And Ritsuro has decided that, yeah, he's totally going to go to the nightclub and get drunk and watch Ken strut his stuff and, you know, get a bit annoyed that this guy hits on him. And Ken's like, no, I'm not interested, buddy. Leave me alone. I'm like, good for you telling, like, a guy that just because you're dancing sexily doesn't mean that you can just come up to him and go, oi, you're mine now. And, like, you know, it's like, yeah, no means no. Good. You know, you need consent in these things. So Ken does a sexy dancing. Ritsuro drinks far too much alcohol, and when Ken goes up to him and goes, what are you doing here? Ritsuro's like, it's none of your business, I'll fall on the floor. And Ken's like, look, come on, let me help you up. No, I don't need your help. I don't know. And it's like, oh. So Ken helps Ritsuro go home because he's obviously wankered, and they're walking along, like having a little conversation. And Ken then just kisses Ritsuro. It's like, oh, finally, at least he's admitting what he wants. And in true fashion, Ritsuro runs away, because that's how you deal with everything in Yaoi. If you run away from it, you'll be fine. If you don't, you know, just run away. Woohoo! Meanwhile, Moeko has snuck into Ken's apartment like a bit of a stalker creepy girl and overhears a phone message. It's like, why are you listening to his voicemails? From Ken's mother. Now, it turned out the reason that Ken moved out and the reason why he got really like depressed and started sleeping around and started using his body for money is because his parents got divorced. So the happy-go-lucky Ken of the past just stopped believing in love and relationships and stability and was really lonely and didn't know, so he kind of like, he didn't want to live with either of the parents, so that's why he started living alone. And the mum now, after years of being divorced, has decided that she's going to remarry. And she wants to move in with her husband, but the husband's from Singapore, so she's going to be moving to Singapore. And she wants to know if Ken wants to come back home, wants to be part of a family again, which is quite a nice thing. And Ken's a little bit like, he doesn't know about this quite so much yet. He doesn't know how he feels about it. But Moeka's like, I now have some, you know, dirt on Ken. I know something that Ritsuro doesn't. It's like, oh, lady, that's not how you play the game. You know, you just be honest. All of you just be honest, have a good conversation. If they'd had a sit-down conversation, they could have saved so much, like, stress for later. But never mind, it's Yaoi. It's got to have some angst. It's got to have, like, you know, the tragic past backstory. This one is not so tragic, but you can understand why Ken is a bit messed up by everything, because, you know, he doesn't really know what to believe in. Back, like, with Ritsuro and his running away, like, he likes to run away. He then starts, like, feeling a little bit, like, guilty about the fact that he ran away, so he decides that he wants to go and talk to Ken about the kiss. So he turns up at the house and the door's already ajar open, and he's like, wait a minute, well, it's the apartment, because it's not really a house, and he's like, wait a minute, the door's already a bit open, looks a bit, like, messy in here, but I can't see anything. Oh, there's a foot sticking out the bed, and they take this so lightly, and like he pulls back the covers of the bed, and in the bed there's a tied up and gagged, like, naked Ken with a wad of cash next to him. And you're like, Jesus Christ, Ken, what happened to you? Like someone's literally broken into your apartment, tied you up, and had their way with you. This is like, you should call the police, dude. But he releases him, and like Ken's all like, oh, that bastard, had a really good time on his own. I'm like, Jesus, you just got sexually assaulted and tied up and your apartment got broken into. Like, Ritsuru, do a good thing, call the police. Like, there's probably loads of trace evidence still there. No, the first thing Ken does is try to come on to Ritsuru because, Yaoi, I suppose, and Ritsuru gets into a fight with him again because Yaoi, and then does the usual thing of like, oh, you're an idiot, and runs away. I'm like, put your feelings aside for your really, I mean, if he wasn't messed up before, he's pretty messed up now, but no, you know what? Sexual assault and breaking and entering, nothing. Being a bit upset about the state of your relationship, I'm going to run away from that. It's like, oh, I would put that behind me if I found my friend in that state, especially my friend that I was potentially in love with and didn't know what to do about those feelings. But no, runs away again. And then we get all the what I call the yaoi jazz music that you get in all yaois when people are thinking and it's emotionally poignant in this jazz place, and the scene goes on for ages. And it's just the three characters in different spots kind of just lamenting, staring at the horizon and staring at trees while their hair flutters in the breeze. And they think back to happier times of when Moeka and Ritsuru were dating, happier times when Ken and Ritsuru were young and going to water parks and being cute, innocent friends, and then just random images like old couples sitting on benches reading the newspaper, cheerleaders being happy, children making sandcastles, and everything is good and happy in the world. And then a couple of shots of Ken looking sad and walking in the rain without an umbrella, and it's just oh dear. So while this happy times is going, for all this, and then it's actually Ken was really lonely and didn't have anyone to turn to because at the time Ritsuru and Moeka were dating and always together, so Ken didn't know what to do with his feelings about his parents getting divorced, and then cheerleaders and feeding pigeons in the park, and just... that goes on and goes on. And then for some unknown reason, we flash back to now, and Ritsuru has been walking past the sakura blossoms without his shoes on. I'm like, why are you walking around without your shoes on? Does that help you think? I wouldn't go walking around outside without my shoes. I mean, I know Japan's a lot cleaner and they look after their floor. It's not like it's going to stand on a drug needle or something. But, you never know. And you're in the park. There's twigs. But no, Ritsuru is wandering around without his shoes on. And... he's lamenting everything that's happened and the fact that, Moeka has used the information she learnt to kind of hold it over Ritsuru going, oh well, I know about why he moved out, and it's yes, it was about the divorce and stuff. Yeah, but do you know that recently the mum's asked him to come back, and he's not going to be so lonely, so he's not actually a tragic figure, which is why Ritsuru was so annoyed with him in the first place, going, you're not lonely, your mum wants you back. And I'm like, Priorities, Ritsuru. But no. So he suddenly decides, actually, no, this is not how it's going to end. I'm going to do some more running and run back to Ken. And Ken is currently on the phone going, Mum, you know what? I think I will come home. I think I will move in with you and go to Singapore. And then just as he's saying that, Ritsuru comes through the door and hugs him, and obviously turns the phone off with the mum going, hello. And I'm like, it's not really good for your mum. I felt really bad for her. It's oh no, emotions. Your poor mum's probably thinking yeah, I'm getting my son back and I'm going to have a family again. And then she's just cut off, not knowing if her son does want to come back to her. But, no, it's more important that now that Ritsuru has worked himself out, it's his time to be no, I know what I want. So he kisses Ken and they have a lovely kiss. And then they literally wake up the next morning. They've clearly slept together because Ken's naked in the bed and Ritsuru's attempting to smoke and failing, and Ken's no, it's not for you. And he's shut up, I need to smoke, because, that cliche of having a cigarette after sex is definitely needed right now. And then they hug and Ritsuru's you're the one I want to be with, Ken. And I'm I'm glad you sorted yourself out, but I really feel you still should maybe have reported the crime that happened. You should also maybe, tell Ritsuru's mum so she's not, worried about what happened to her son. Can you imagine, you're on a phone call, your son's going, I will come home, and then suddenly hear the phone clatter and turn off. You'd be what is going on? no one cares about these things. They only care about the fact that they can't work out their feelings. But yeah, the two boys finally admitted they're in love, and they're walking down the street with the beautiful, like, sakura blossoms, and Ritsuo finally decides to be a bit more intelligent and says, I'm going to have an honest conversation with Mako. I'm going to tell her how I really feel. I do like her, and I think that, like, we should try and, like, like, talk about this, and I'm going to tell her that I chose you and that you were the one that I wanted to be with. I mean, previously, Ritsuo and Moeka did try and patch up their relationship, and they tried to have sex, and it was just like, Ritsuo was just like not interested. And the whole way through, Moeka has just been begging, like, what do I have to do to get you to forgive me? How can we work this out? I'm sorry I ruined the friendship between you two boys. Is there any way that we can still be together? But Ritsuo wants none of this, but he says he's going to have an honest conversation, and Ken's like, that's a very good idea, I think you should. And then they kiss, and of course Moeka just turns up in the corner, sees the two boys kissing, and rides off going, I was such an idiot to think I thought I could work it out, to think I thought that I ruined their friendship, but really, like, that's how it was between them. I'm like, you knew about this? You said earlier that you were like, oh, Ritsuru, be true about your actual feelings. And then she was all like, oh, yeah, Ken's going to leave. Which was why Ritsuru was like, oh, no, I might lose him. Because, nothing makes love, like, come to fruition. Apart from the fact that when one of them leaves, finally you stop running away. It's like, oh, I'm just about to lose you. I better go get you. And so Moeko rides a bicycle off. And then a new school year starts. And it's like, okay, it's a new school year, and Ken has agreed to stop hustling and sleeping around and get a real job somewhere. And Ritsuru is in the new year of school, and he meets a new student. A new student turns up, and he's like number one in the class, and he's like, oh, hey, I see we're going to be in the same class together. That's great, because we have a mutual friend. All suspicious and all like, oh, yeah. And also quite hot, so we know he's going to be a rival for love at some point. And he's like, so, if you're such a close friend with Ken, where is he? Where's Ken? And he's like, oh, no, this new kind of sexy but slightly evil looking boy is definitely after Ken. What you could do about it, Ritsuru? Ooh. And then Moeka turns up, and she's had a new haircut and a change of life, and I thought, okay, she's going to have matured. They're older now. They're no longer like, whatever year of uni it is. It's older, matured, had time to digest. She's cut her hair, new beginnings, move on. And she goes up to Ritsuru, and she's all like, can we talk for a moment? And I'm like, oh yes, very mature. Let's the two of them sort things out and have a lovely conversation about how they've been all so stupid, and Ritsuru can apologise, and she can apologise, and it can... But no, she goes, look, I've cut my hair. I've cut my hair so you will know how much you've hurt me. I want you to suffer. I want you to feel the sin of what you're doing, the sin of what you did to me. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, girl, you cheated as well. Like, it's not like you were an innocent party in all this. You cheated, you broke into someone's apartment, you sniffed their clothes, listened to their voicemail, you taunted her through the knowledge of like, haha, I know more about Ken than you do. But no, she's tragically hurt girl in all of this, and because the two boys are now in love and wanted to talk to her about it in an honest and open manner, she wants Ritsuru to feel nothing but pain and to suffer, and she's going to make him suffer. And like, Jesus Christ. And then it kind of just ends with these stills of her working off looking mad, like Ritsuru wandering off looking like, oh dear, this other new student wandering off going, yeah, I'm going to get some. And you're like, oh, well, it's obviously setting itself up for like, oh, what happens next? And I'm like, oh, I just think more drama, and not the fun kind of drama is coming. It's going to be like, I don't know, lots of like her manipulating, trying to ruin their relationship, and this guy turning up trying to ruin their relationship, and probably she and the guy both trying to find a way to ruin their relationship so she can get Ritsuru back and he can get Ken. Or she's actually, no, she hates Ritsuru, so she probably doesn't want him back. She wants him to suffer. So she's going to help this new dude like sleep with Ken, and then Ritsuru will feel the pain of what it's like to be cheated on. And it's like, well, you had already cheated, you two had already broken up, and after you broken up, that's when Ken and Ritsuru get together, but of course you're the one that got cheated on, and now you must ruin this relationship. And it's like, that seems a bit unfair. I also hope that someone has told Ken's mum that he's not coming to Singapore, because, I hate to think that she's just like, where did my son go? But yeah, that's it. That's our road of no return. It's got some sweet moments on it. There's a bit of nice kissing. The boys are attractive. But it's just not... I didn't feel it as much as some of the other ones I watched. I felt the drama was a little bit too high school drama, which probably the setting, it is a bit too high school drama, but it just wasn't for me. Which is fair enough. Not everyone has to totally appeal to me. I think back in the day I probably enjoyed it a lot more because I would have just consumed everything. But now that I own so much of it and watch so many things, I'm like, it's not going to go in my top 10. And, it's worth watching once, but I wouldn't return to it. I probably would watch a sequel if they'd made one just so I could see it, because I can't not watch it. I'm going to watch everything. But I wouldn't be rushing off to read the manga to find out what happens next in this saga of drama. But for now, this is me saying bye-byes.